Good afternoon and welcome to the iPASS launch webinar. My name is Megan Ireland and I'm an Associate Director of Programs and Policy at Achieving the Dream and the project lead for the iPASS initiative. There are two other Achieving the Dream staff whom I will be working with closely and whom you will get to know as well over the course of this grant. Laurie Haycock is the Acting National Director of Data Coaching and Analytics and will also serve as an iPASS technical assistance provider for one of the institutions in this initiative. Julia Lawson is an Assistant Director of Programs and works on professional development for our network as well as recruitment and retention of colleges in the network. So we're very excited to be launching our work together in this iPASS initiative, and I've planned a full agenda of information, introductions, and next steps to assist you in getting off to a great start with your iPASS work. Before going over the agenda, I did want to note that we will send both a recording of this webinar and the slides from the webinar out to you to review the material in more depth and to send to any colleagues who are unable to attend. I will spend a few minutes at the beginning talking briefly about the grant and the purpose and philosophy behind the initiative. We'll also have a few slides to introduce each of the colleges in this initiative. Laurie will then talk about the support you will receive as a part of this grant and our approach to the technical assistance. Julia will then provide an overview of the grant resources and expectations. Many of these were laid out in the RFP and grant agreement, but I think it's helpful to reiterate them here. There are two primary planning tools that we have developed to help you with your planning and implementation, and these include the Readiness for Technology Adoption Framework and Self-Assessment. And the other piece is the iPASS Action Plan. Finally, I want to highlight what to expect in some of the upcoming convenings and additional next steps to anticipate. So by way of overviewing the grant, I think it's helpful to consider the question, what is iPASS? And this is a question I get from a lot of my colleagues. What is iPASS exactly? Is it a technology or a service or a system? And our approach in the way that this grant was conceived by the funders is that iPASS is about reform, and specifically leveraging technology to enhance and streamline systems and services with the goal of transformative institutional change. So in a tangible way, the technology is used to enhance and streamline course advising, course selection, course registration, tracking student progress, targeting support services in order to improve students' academic decision-making and increase degree attainment. So there's three main areas for iPASS, and that's educational planning, counseling and coaching, and targeting risk and intervention. And most of you were selected for this competitive grant process because you have very ambitious goals and plan to integrate all three of these. So the purpose of iPASS is not about which technology you use, but about engaging in a process of integrating your planning and advising services through the use of technology in order to spur transformative change that's more than just about promoting efficiency. So as you read in the RFP for this grant, we defined transformative change as organizational growth and development that combines structural, process, and attitudinal change. So in some ways, the easiest of these is structural change, which lays the foundation for new behaviors and improves student experiences. For example, using iPASS technologies to enable one-on-one student advisor meetings sets the stage for more meaningful advising conversations. And then the content of those conversations can encourage students to engage in purposeful behavior, problem solve, and persist and graduate. Then process change reforms how people do their jobs at an individual level. And so it therefore requires supportive structures to ensure that it occurs among enough college personnel to change the experiences for large numbers of students. So ultimately, transformative change takes root when attitudinal change occurs, when individuals start to understand their work and view work processes in new ways. So this definition of transformative change emerged in part from research from the first round of iPASS grants, in which some institutions did make great strides in procuring iPASS technologies, but the adoption, which we'll talk more about later, lagged because of institutional readiness and needed that attitudinal change. There are several articles written about this from the Community College Research Center, and we've provided those resources for you on the ATD Connect learning platform, which we will discuss later. So to summarize the specific goals of this iPASS initiative, The first is the implementation of iPASS solutions to improve student learning outcomes and academic progression for the majority of undergraduate learners, while also impacting institutional productivity. The second is around building institutional capacity for transformative change, the broad and deep engagement, evaluation methods, and also the use of predictive methods. The third is a goal that was explicit in the RFP around a 10% improvement in student retention. And finally, and one that is important for achieving the dream, is documenting and sharing lessons about the successful iPASS solutions that you engage in with the broader higher education field. So I wanted to now take a few minutes to highlight the ways in which Achieving the Dream's work is particularly aligned with the goals of the iPASS initiative. So Achieving the Dream has 11 years of experience in the field with a particular emphasis on institutional change to increase student access and success. And this was, we were conceived as a national initiative in 2004 and have expanded over the years to include a national reform network of over 200 higher education institutions. So we believe strongly that integrated planning and advising services have the potential to significantly improve how students experience college. And by focusing on transformative change, this iPASS initiative is supporting institutions in building a sustainable advising process that supports the whole student through completion of their educational and career goals. So the iPASS initiative aligns seamlessly with Achieving the Dream's work in building pathways to completion and providing integrated academic, financial, and career support services. So as a result of Achieving the Dream's 11 years of experience with systemic institutional change, there are several primary lessons that guide our work and that align with this iPASS initiative and serve as a basis for the technical assistance approach we will take. So the first is that there must be leaders at multiple levels in the institution. So you will hear us repeat several times on this webinar the role of cross-functional and cross-hierarchical teams in order to produce successful adoption of iPASS. And this ensures that you have people at the table that both have the big picture view as well as the on-the-ground implementation view. Additionally, faculty engagement is another area of institutional change work that requires special attention, and Achieving the Dream has produced several publications about effective staff and faculty engagement, and we hope to bring this into our work on this initiative. As you all know, scaling is hard and systemic change takes a long time. But it's through initiatives such as this where we can build in intentionality and sustainability and peer learning that we can overcome those challenges. We also believe that data-informed decision-making is important, and particularly using data to evaluate and measure the success of initiatives. So we've built this into our technical assistance approach, which Laurie will talk more about later. We also recognize that there should be measures of institutional change, and we think that we're very fortunate that the Community College Research Center is the external evaluator for this grant, and they will be very beneficial for your work and for developing the learnings for this field. And you'll be hearing more from them at the convening prior to EDUCAUSE at the end of October. So we've also learned that you cannot take a one-size-fits-all approach to institutional change. And so we've developed a customized approach to our technical assistance work. And you will see this when Laurie discusses the resources and support you will receive through this grant. So I wanted to provide a little more context for who is a part of the grant and the structure for the technical assistance. So through this iPASS initiative, 24 institutions were selected in a competitive national grant process. Achieving the Dream and EDUCAUSE are providing the technical assistance for the institutions. Achieving the Dream is providing technical assistance to 14 of the 24 institutions, and they are listed on this slide in bold and purple. EDUCAUSE will be providing technical assistance to the remaining 10 institutions. And I want to acknowledge our colleague and my counterpart at EDUCAUSE, Nancy Millichap. EDUCAUSE is administering the grant funds for 20 of the colleges, so I'm sure that through that process, as well as her work in coordinating the first convening, you are familiar with her name and her email, and she will look forward to meeting you in person at the convening at the end of October as well. So there'll be a lot of overlap and synergy between the technical assistance that EDUCAUSE provides and that we provide at Achieving the Dream, and we're looking forward to this work together. I also want to note that 4 of the 24 institutions were selected for special designation as STEM-focused iPASS institutions, and they're listed on this slide in purple. So these 4 are funded through Achieving the Dream with support from the Helmsley Charitable Trust, and they will be taking a special approach to iPASS implementation by targeting their work at students in STEM programs of study. I also wanted to point out that among the group of 14 institutions to whom Achieving the Dream will provide technical assistance, 5 of those, and they're listed on this slide with an asterisk next to their name, were a part of the first round of iPASS grants. So they've already begun the process of some iPASS implementation and will be excellent resources for other institutions who are just beginning this work. So we hope to draw from their experiences in iPASS 1 through future convenings and webinars. So we'll now move to highlighting some of the, in fact, all of the 14 institutions that are a part of Achieving the Dream's Technical Assistance Group. On this first slide, we have the 4 STEM-focused institutions: Honolulu Community College and University of Hawaii System, Danya Ana Community College, Trident Technical College, and Zane State. The other institutions that are a part of Achieving the Dream's Technical Assistance Group are listed in alphabetical order: the Community College of Philadelphia, Georgia State University, Montgomery County Community College, who was an iPASS 1 college, Northern Essex Community College, Northeast Wisconsin Technical College, who was also a part of the Round 1 iPASS grants. Rounding out our group is Patrick Henry Community College, Queensboro Community College, who was a Round 1 iPASS grant recipient, South Texas College, who was also an iPASS Round 1, Gutman Community College, and University of Texas San Antonio. The University of Texas San Antonio was also in iPASS Round 1. So this is a very exciting group of institutions who are embarking on really ambitious projects for their iPASS work, and we're looking forward to forming this community of practice and engaging in peer learning throughout the course of this grant. I'm now going to turn it over to Lori to talk more about the resources and support to expect from participation in this grant.
Thank you, Mayan. Hi, my name is Lori Haycock, and as Mayan mentioned, I'm the Acting National Director of Data Coaching and Analytics, and I'm the point person for the technical assistance for iPASS. So in addition, I just want to briefly review the resources and support you will be receiving from us pursuant to this grant. First, you'll be receiving monetary support via grant funds, and each of you should receive your grant fund check by the end of this week. Additionally, you are assigned a technical assistance provider who will offer you customized support and help you navigate the 3-year journey of this grant. We'll also be sharing lessons from iPASS Round 1 to inform your work, as well as help you to build the data capacity and technology capacity you need to launch iPASS. There will be an external evaluation focusing on both outcomes and process change that will be conducted by CCRC, and you'll learn more about that at our convening, at our EDUCAUSE convening in Indianapolis later this month. Additionally, we'll have several convenings, the first of which will be at EDUCAUSE, and then there'll be 3 convenings at the Achieving the Dream Annual Dream Institute, which occurs in February of each year. So that would be 2016, 17, and 18. We have an ATD Connect platform for you, which is the hub for all things iPASS related. So it'll have your resources, discussion board, and I'll take a deeper dive into that in a few moments. We will also conduct other webinars for you in addition to the one today, and then weave in external experts and consultants as needed, again, to inform your work, and then you'll have the support and advice from the entire Achieving the Dream network as well as our staff. Okay, so the Achieving the Dream Connect is basically a Blackboard learning management system. And again, that's going to be your hub. It's going to be where you interact with each other, with your technical assistance provider, with your ATD staff throughout the grant period. It's a place where you'll find the repository for all your resources as you move through planning, implementation, evaluation, and scaling. We'll have key readings there for you. We'll post webinars there. We'll have all grant-related information as well as a collaboration space for you and your team. It will also be where you go to submit any reports to Achieving the Dream, including your completed RTA self-assessment, your iPASS action plan, and your annual progress report. Okay, now I'd like to introduce you to your iPASS technical assistance providers. Each of you should have received an introduction of your TA provider, but I'll just review them again here. Each of these are seasoned coaches who've worked with numerous institutions throughout the country. They're subject matter experts on data and student success and how to integrate data and technology and build capacity in those areas and align your work. Each of their coach bios is available on the Achieving the Dream website, but I'll just briefly review them here. So Shara Davis, and many of them went through iPASS Realm 1, either on their campuses or coached iPASS Realm 1 colleges. So Shara Davis will be the TA provider for the Community College of Philadelphia and for Patrick Henry Community College. Renee Garcia, who's on the line with us today, will be the TA provider for Georgia State University, South Texas College, and UT San Antonio. Leon Hill will be the TA provider for Doña Ana Community College and Trident Technical College. Terry Manning will provide the TA for Northern Essex Community College and the University of Hawaii Community College System. Bruce McComb will provide the TA for Northeast Wisconsin Technical College as well as for Zane State. I will be the TA provider for Montgomery County Community College, and Ted Wright will be the TA provider for Gutman Community College in Queensboro. In terms of the types of and the role that the TA providers will play, they will, again, help you leverage technology to implement the advising reform. They will help you organize a successful change strategy by engaging the right people on campus, including your students, faculty, advisors, IR, IT, any other stakeholders that are necessary to make this work a success. They will help you construct and implement action plans designed to build institutional capacity. They will identify technical assistance and learning resources to enhance your reform work. They'll help you set performance targets and set up mechanisms to monitor your progress to make sure that you're staying on track and achieving the goals that you've set out to achieve. And they'll help you develop an internal evaluation to supplement the external evaluation that will be conducted by CCRC. They'll be making site visits to your campus and meeting with your teams once a year. Additionally, you'll have touch points with your TA providers at the October EDUCAUSE convening. That's where you'll likely first meet them face-to-face, as well as our annual DREAM convenings in February of 2016, 17, and 18. Now I'm going to turn over the mic to Julia, who will review expectations of grantees.
Thank you, Lori. As Megan mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, you'll find these expectations in your grant agreement and in the iPASS RFP. However, we've provided them here for ease of review and to ensure that there are no questions or comments at this stage. So we expect institutions to design their iPASS systems with scalability and sustainability in mind. This means that by the end of the grant period, your iPASS system should be able to continue at or be scaled to full capacity without external funding support. Institutions need to use predictive analytics in addition to other data to inform its decision-making at each stage of this reform work, including planning, implementation, evaluation, refinement, and scaling. Actively participate in cross-grantee networking and learning opportunities, which includes, but is not limited to, grantee convenings, webinars, site visits, and the Achieving the Dream Connect tool. Institutions also agree to publicly share information, knowledge resources, findings, and lessons learned. This is a really important point, particularly for Achieving the Dream, as one of the 4 iPASS goals mentioned earlier in this webinar is to leverage the Achieving the Dream network to scale the use of iPASS systems to other community colleges. We're already planning to begin this work at Dream 2016, and we'll be building out iPASS-related sessions throughout that institute. All grantee institutions will send a team of at least 4 key iPASS individuals to each grantee convening, but we are more than happy if you would like to send more than 4. Institutions will complete and submit annual progress reports, as well as the RTA self-assessment and the iPASS action plan, which we're going to discuss in more detail soon. And finally, institutions will actively participate in the external evaluation study to be conducted by the Community College Research Center, which has been mentioned before. CCRC also conducted the evaluation of the first round of iPASS grants and has been recently sharing the lessons learned by those institutions. All these publications and more can be found in the resources section of ATD Connect. So along the way, there are a few key dates that we want to highlight right now with you to get them on your calendar. You recently received an email with a fairly detailed iPASS timeline, which will give you a bit more detail. However, the timeline is a work in progress because we want to make sure that the TA support we provide to you is responsive to your changing needs throughout the grant. So the first 2 key dates that you see on your screen are the first all grantee convening at EDUCAUSE's annual conference, which is taking place on October 26th to the 27th, and the related pre-convening webinar. This webinar will help those who are attending the convening to prepare for the training they'll receive on change management and business model development. We encourage all those who are attending the in-person meeting to also attend the webinar, but we also welcome additional participants on the webinar. Next are the deadlines for the RTA self-assessment, which is due on November 27th of 2015, and the iPASS action plan, which is due on February 12th of 2016. Also in February 2016, we'll be hosting another grantee convening, which is optional for non-STEM grantees, but mandatory for the 4 STEM-focused grantees. We recommend that each college that can send a team does, as we will not only be hosting a closed pre-institute specifically designed for iPASS grantees, but there will also be a series of iPASS-related sessions throughout the full DREAM program. Those who attend will also have the opportunity to refine their iPASS action plans with their TA provider. And finally, there are a few annual activities that are noted on the screen, including your annual technical assistant site visit, the first of which is in spring 2016, and the remaining 2 will be scheduled at your and your TA's convenience. The annual progress reports and the additional mandatory grantee convenings, which are taking place at DREAM 2016 and 2017, and DREAM 2018, both of which will be in February of those years. And so, as I said before, our technical assistance timeline will be responsive to your needs, so it's absolutely essential that we get your input, particularly at the beginning as we're designing this support. To that end, we've provided a few outlets for grantees to provide input and feedback on the support that you're receiving, as well as the support that you need. At any time, you can email or call Mei-Yen, Laurie, myself, or your iPASS TA to provide feedback. We've provided Mei-Yen's email address and phone number here for convenience, but I'm sure that by now you've all received many messages from both of us, and you can find our details in those emails. Second, we've created a discussion forum on ATD Connect specifically for you to provide comments or suggestions on the technical assistance you need. Please note that you can choose to post anonymously if you wish. Third, there will be a space within your annual reports to provide additional support requests, and we'll be monitoring those as they come in. And finally, you can always speak to us in person at the grantee convenings. Now I'm going to pass back to Mei-Yen to talk about the Readiness for Technology Adoption Framework.
Great, thank you, Julia. So as I mentioned at the beginning, iPASS is about transformative institutional change, really looking at that structural, process, and attitudinal change. And so based on the findings from their research in the first round of iPASS grants, the Community College Research Center developed the Readiness for Technology Adoption Framework and Self-Assessment Rubric. So the framework examines the likelihood of a college's success adopting technology-based reform. And there are several full-length articles about the Readiness for Technology Adoption Framework that are available on the ATD Connect learning platform. So from this framework, they also developed a self-assessment rubric of the indicators of institutional functioning that influence successful transformative reform.
So using this rubric, an institution can assess each component individually and then create a holistic view of each of the 4 areas of readiness. And those include technological readiness, organizational readiness, motivational readiness, and project readiness. So these components are rated on a continuum from minimally ready to poised for action. And it's important to note that scoring minimally ready on any one component does not indicate that a project could not move forward, but this rubric is really meant to be a diagnostic tool that can help you focus your implementation activities. It's also a really powerful conversation starter that can increase cross-institution understanding and visioning of the purpose of this transformative change. So in addition to being a diagnostic tool and a conversation starter, the Readiness for Technology Adoption Self-Assessment is critical as you design your iPASS action plan and the timeline of activities that you will engage in to ensure successful adoption of your iPASS reform work. We'll also use this self-assessment to inform the technical assistance that we provide you, so part of helping us provide a customized assistance plan for you. So we're particularly excited about incorporating this Readiness for Technology Adoption, or RTA, self-assessment into our technical assistance work, and we've created a guide and an instruction document on how to use the RTA self-assessment, and we've requested that institutions complete this RTA and submit the results by November 27th. And information about that is available on the instruction sheet that we will send out with this recording, and also on the ATD Connect learning platform. So even if you're an institution that has already begun to implement some aspects of iPASS, it will be important to use this diagnostic tool to ensure successful adoption of this work. So I won't go into the specific of the instructions, but I encourage you to read the guide and let us know if you have any questions. We'll also be following up with you individually on the calls next week if you have any questions about this tool. I want to emphasize that it's critical to form a cross-functional and cross-hierarchical team when completing the RTA self-assessment, and this team will complete the self-assessment individually and then together. And it's important that when you come together that this be a facilitated discussion. So we've also provided in that instruction document several tips for the facilitators. I'm now going to turn it over to Julia, who will discuss the iPASS action plan.
Thank you, Mayan. So the iPASS action plan is designed to serve as a guide for you and your team, as well as your iPASS TA, as you move forward with achieving the vision and goals of your iPASS reform work. It is therefore important to ensure it is written in a way that will help existing and new team members understand your institution's student success vision, as well as the plan for achieving it and their role in achieving it. It can also be helpful as you communicate your iPASS work to your college community. The learning that comes from completing the RTA self-assessment with your iPASS team will be invaluable in helping you develop a comprehensive and sustainable action plan. While we recognize that you will likely have begun implementation of your iPASS work already or by the deadline of the submission deadline on February 12th of 2016, it is still vital for you to complete the plan with as much detail as needed for it to be a useful tool for your iPASS team as you continue with your work. The action plan is split into 7 main sections that you can see listed on your screen. These sections are designed to prompt you to begin your work with the end in mind. To that end, we ask for you to restate your iPASS vision and goals, ask how you plan to monitor progress and evaluate your work internally, as well as when and how you plan to scale your efforts and sustain the work beyond the grant period. You will note that we also ask for you to explain how this work aligns with the other student success efforts being undertaken by your institution. This will be an important question to answer, not only to ensure sustainability and resource efficiency, but also to inform the communication of your work to the institution's community and to make this clear how it works with the rest of the student success work that's going on at your college. Finally, we recognize that this plan may evolve as the grant period progresses, so we encourage your team to keep this document updated to ensure it remains useful to your team throughout the grant period. Now I'm going to pass back to Mayan to discuss the exciting upcoming events.
Great. So the last 2 slides on this webinar provide details on the upcoming convenings and some immediate next steps to anticipate. So first, we're very much looking forward to meeting everyone in person at the first iPASS convening on October 26th and 27th, just prior to the EDUCAUSE conference. So I wanted to note that the registration for the convening deadline was yesterday. However, the early bird registration deadline for the conference is actually September 29th, but we're really trying to encourage institutions to register as early as possible, particularly by completing the registration link that Nancy Millichap sent out from EDUCAUSE. We also want to encourage you to send that cross-functional, cross-hierarchical team that we keep referring to, and in that we really are looking at a team that includes those that are carrying out the work on the ground as well as those that are leading the project. So this would include an advisor, a chief academic affairs officer, chief student services officer, faculty, representatives from information technology and institutional research. So that's just an example of a cross-functional or cross-hierarchical team. We'll be sending out more details about this convening, but I would tell you broadly that some of the focus will be on peer networking and change management. I also want to highlight, as you're making your travel plans for this convening, that there are 2 iPASS sessions at the start of the EDUCAUSE conference on the morning of October 28th that you may want to attend, and I've listed those on the slide. Additionally, I want to draw your attention to and have you mark in your calendars Achieving the Dreams National Annual Institute. Dream 2016 will be in Atlanta, Georgia on February 23rd through 26th. And we will be holding a special pre-institute focused on iPASS implementation on February 23rd. And then we'll also have an exclusive iPASS grantee reception and a series of iPASS sessions throughout the conference. So we'll be sending more information and instructions about how to register for that soon. Finally, I just want to note the next steps. The first is that we will be having our individual calls with institutions next week. We've already scheduled that, so we look forward to talking with many of you. We'll be addressing specific questions about the grant as well as the specifics of your individual proposals and how we can develop our support for you. Again, encouraging you to begin your RTA self-assessment, which is due on November 27th, forming those cross-functional, cross-hierarchical teams, reviewing the instructions that we send out, as well as the article. Finally, we want to note the pre-convening webinar, which will be on Tuesday, October 13th from 3:30 to 5 p.m. This is a little misleading on this slide. It says to register, but actually that link will take you directly to that webinar. So just bookmark that link, and then at the time on October 13th, click that link in order to join the webinar. And this is a webinar that's being hosted by EDUCAUSE. I encourage you to refer to the timeline that we send out to track any of the other upcoming dates and deadlines. So with that, I'll say if you have any questions, please feel free to contact any of the 3 of us, and we look very much to seeing you in person in Indianapolis. Thank you.